Vlaslava says, as to your question, honestly, I try to keep good online, social media, and breaking news hygiene, yet it seems I can't escape. This feels heavy. All right. So the first thing we're going to do here on support stack. So news. News. Can't escape the news feels heavy. All right. Where's my eraser? Here it is. Let's do can't escape news. All right, this is our first problem. So, chat, if this is something you're struggling with as well, go ahead and say me too in the chat so we know that this is something you're struggling with too. And if this is something that you have ideas on what you can do or ideas on how you're managing it, put that in the comment section too. And here's what we're going to do is for let's say about 3 minutes, what we're going to do is we're just going to generate ideas on what are potential solutions for this. So, one of the problems with figuring out solutions is we get stuck on what can work and what can't work, and we might get an idea and then we immediately start criticizing the idea. We immediately start thinking about all the reasons why that idea won't work. And then we never are able to make any movement because we've just sort of talked ourselves out of potential solutions. So one of the things that we do in cognitive behavioral therapy is we focus just on generating solutions. We focus just on generating ideas. And my goal is always to get to 10. And the reason for that is some of those ideas are going to be really out there and not make any sense. And then through that process of generating some ideas, you might get some creative solutions that you wouldn't have considered before. So it's important to just keep going and not criticizing the ideas as you're coming up with them. You can do that later. You can figure out what makes sense or what doesn't make sense later. But first, let's just focus on generating ideas, on putting some things together, and going through that. Okay, so let's. Oh yes, Ves says Ves is enough. I remember that Ves from that you like to go by Ves on one of the previous live streams, but then I was unsure, and then I get anxious, and then I'm like, I don't want to like give someone a nickname if that's not what they prefer to go by. So then I kind of just started saying your name as it's listed over there. That's my own anxiety. And Gregor says, me too. This is definitely something I think a lot of people are dealing with, is this news anxiety. Can't escape the news. No matter where you are in the world, no matter what's going on, it seems like this is something we all are struggling with. Free memes and Vine Kids. Hi, Dr. Ali. Hi, Free memes and Vine Kids. Good to see you. So we are in support stack. We are working through this problem of can't escape the news, and we are going to spend 3 minutes here generating potential solutions. So chat, I want you to write down how you might solve this problem of not being able to escape the news. We're going to do this for 3 minutes. Let me get my timer ready right over here. I don't like the timer there. I want to move it right there. All right, folks, let's go. So can't escape the news. Here's what we can do. So throw away your phone. Okay, that's number one. Number two, block news websites. All right, number 3, only check at specific times. Number 4, tell people don't send me news. Number 5, I'm just coming up with these off the top of my head, and I want you all to do the same thing. Just generate. Oh my gosh, 1:50 left. Okay, number 5, halfway there. Audio only news. Number 6, only weekly news. Number 7, only local news. Number 8, consume power-ups instead. I'll talk about what that means in a moment. Well, 1 minute left. Chat, keep going. Let's see what we got. Number 9. Okay, I'm kind of slow. My thoughts are slowed down. Come on, Ali. Gotta think of 2 more. I'm getting stuck. Now I'm getting anxious, which is restricting my attention. I got 30 seconds. Okay. Audio only. Oh yeah. So acceptance. That's just a broad category. We'll talk more about that. And then number 11 is think local. Okay, I got 10. Hoo-hoo! With 5 seconds to spare. What do you think about that? All right, I wanna put some of your all's ideas here too. I think you got some good ones. Let's get rid of this timer. We don't need that. All right, letting go. I think that free memes and Vine Kids, I think that's kind of with acceptance. So I'm just going to put that here, letting go. Let's see. Reality instead of media. Ooh, I like that. Let's make that 11. Reality instead of media. Okay. What else we got over here? Hey Sylvia, welcome to the chat. Good to have you here. Spend more time with friends. Yeah. Okay. Boom. More time with friends. I like that one, Elliot. Flora says, reading something I love to do to take my attention off my cell phone. Let's put that here. Reading. I didn't put notifications on here. Let me make that a 14. Notifications. Go away. Let's say that. Notifications go away. Gregor says, change environments to calm anxiety about the news. Mind-body practices to feel more in the present. Let's put that down here. I'm running out of space now. I love that we are on solution 15. I love this. So change environment. Boom. What a great one. Simon says, my solution is no social media and no TV. It works for me. Social media has been a piece of junk, I feel like, for me for these last few weeks. So I've really experienced almost no joy on it, with the exception of maybe Reddit a little bit and YouTube. Those are a few places for me. Whoops, I got this thing blocking the chat. Let's get rid of that. Boom. There we go. So no social media. So like, let's say like no social media. That's a great one. Focus on what you can control. Great one, Elliot. So let's say focus on what you can control. That's great. That's great. We're going to talk about these in more detail in just a moment. I just want to get all these ideas on the board. Cozy games help me a lot. Oh, yeah. Flora says find a hobby or activity. And cozy games help me a lot. So let's say 18 here. Hobby. Love it. Keep going. Okay, I think we've got a good list. Elliot says focus on internal locus of control. I think that kind of goes with focus on what you can control. I like that. And Mirko says log in your input channels and reflect on which help you and which don't. So let's call that like audit your input. That's good. It's good. Oh, Lavender Meadow. What a chill profile pic and name. Oh my gosh, Lavender Meadow. You know what? Lavender's my favorite color. This is lavender-ish. It's also my favorite flower. I got this bottle is full of lavender. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. This was all this lavender was given to me by a friend who found out that I love lavender, and his family has a lavender farm. And so after visiting his family one day, he just brought me back a big bushel of lavender, and it's so good. It's so good. It makes me feel so happy when I smell this. So Lavender Meadow, good to have you here. Good to have the lavender vibe right over there. And you know what's right next to my Lavender Meadow? This is a new gift from my wife. We all live in a yellow submarine. No! Why is my yellow submarine popping out? We all live in a yellow submarine. I also love the Beatles. They also make me happy. And check it out, folks. The coolest thing about this... Wait, let me see if I can get closer. And come on, I know I can make this work. There we go. The Beatles, they pop out. All four of them. The Fab Four. They're all right here in the submarine. Isn't that cool? Yeah, my wife got this for me. And it makes me happy. All right. Lavender does rock. I'm glad you think that's amazing, Lavender Meadow. Okay, let me see what else. Ooh, Flora says going to the movies by myself. Flora, did you go to Interstellar last week? Who was the person that went to Interstellar last week? Someone here was going to Interstellar. And as soon as the live stream ended, I was so annoyed because the watch I was wearing was the same watch from Interstellar. It's called the Murph, made by Hamilton. It's my favorite watch that I own. I was wearing it during the stream, and I didn't tell you all. We were talking about Interstellar, and I didn't talk about that. And I'm like, what the heck? What the heck? All right, let me see. Let me see if I got anything else here. Mr. A says sticky note, poster, and digital equivalent quotes that help you recenter yourself. let's see. So I'm going to add this 20. So recentering quotes. Okay. Any other solutions? Oh, Lavender Meadow. I got distracted by your lavender. I didn't put down your suggestion. So worry time. I think, folks, that's all the tips. I think we got everything. All right, so this is really good. This board is full. I love that. So, if you are just joining us, this is Support Stack with Dr. Ali. That's me. And with you, the chat. So what we are doing is we're working through a problem together, a real world problem that one of you is dealing with. And the first problem here we're dealing with is can't escape the news. You know what's funny about that? I grew up always saying escape, like EX. And I was doing a video collab for a group of teachers last year. And they were like, Ali, we can't use this take. You keep saying escape, but it's pronounced escape. And I was like, what's the difference? I couldn't hear the difference. And then I was telling my wife about this. I'm like, these teachers were complaining about the way I say it, escape. And my wife's like, yeah, that's actually annoyed me for a long time. You say it that way and it's not said that way. So now I try really hard. Escape. It's tricky for me, but I'm working on it. So you can't escape the news. We've got all these solutions here. So when we're doing problem solving, when we're trying to figure out some solutions here, the very first thing you want to do is you want to define the problem. You want to define that what specifically you are struggling with. And so can't escape the news. If we dive down a little bit deeper into that, and I can't even remember whose original problem this was, but it's Vess. This was Vess's problem, right? Can't escape the news. And so I think it was Vess's problem, right? Yeah. So what does that mean for you? Like, what does that problem actually look like? And so that is going to shape what kind of solution to focus on. So is the problem that you can't escape the news, so you're always thinking about it? Is the problem that it's making stress, worry, anxiety for you? Is the problem that you're getting too many notifications on your phone? Is the problem that everywhere you go, you're reminded about horrific things that are happening? Is the problem that you are you're trying to relax, but a relative is texting you anxious news stuff? Is a problem that you can't fall asleep because of all of this stuff? This stuff is on your mind. There's so many ways in which this news anxiety, news overwhelm, this new crashing out because of the news, whatever way you think about it, there's so many ways this problem can present itself. So what the first thing we have to do is we have to clearly define what is the problem. So if you've got an idea in the chat that kind of answers that question a little bit of what does this problem look like, especially Vess, because I think Vess, this was your question. I want to know in the chat what specifically, how, in what way is this problem showing up in your life? What does that look like? Because that then defines what type of solution might be a good one to try. So let me know, chat, if you've got an idea here. And for some reason, my chat feels like it's frozen. Why is the chat so stuck over here? Here, let me see. Let me see if I can, let me reload this and see if that helps. I feel like everything's working. Maybe this is like a YouTube thing where YouTube is not updating the chat here. What is going on here, chat? Why am I not getting any new messages? I really hate doing live tech support. Here we go. All right. We've got Kevin saying hello. What's up, Kevin? Good to see you. It's not frozen. Okay. Thanks, Kevin. I'm glad it's working. Okay. So, chat, let me know, how does this problem show up in your life? What does it look like? And that's gonna define what might be some good solutions over here. All right, so once we've got the problem, once we have a little bit more of a clear definition of what that problem actually looks like, then we can define the next part, which is, what would the solution potentially look like? And how would we know it's working? So here's what we do. All right, Elliot says we're here. Good. I'm glad you all are here. So let's say can't escape the news. So I'm going to define this as it is a issue for me. So the issue for me for can't escape the news would be that it's not so much that I can't get rid of it from my life, as much as the problem is that this stuff stays on my mind. I am worried about it. It makes me stress. It makes me anxious. Okay, so that might be the more specific problem for me. If that doesn't resonate with you, or if that's like a different experience for you in the chat, let me know and we can explore that too. So I'm gonna write down over here. Should I use a different color? I feel like I should use a different color for this. We got so much of one color here. And Vess says, so it's more of the third thing you suggested. I don't have TV. I only use social media at work, as I am employed in marketing. I don't listen to radio, yet news finds me through friends and family. Okay, so this is interesting. So Vess is already doing so much stuff to limit the inputs, right? I think that was one over here, is audit your inputs. So we can actually, well, we're not going to cross that off the list right now. Let's keep that on. But Vess is doing so much stuff to already keep news away from her life. And what we need to figure out is solutions that are more specific to that problem. The news keeps finding her through friends and family. And I'm guessing, Vess, that the news finds you and it's really overwhelming for you. It's really difficult. It's hard for you to hold all of that. So let's make this problem a little bit more specific. So news finds me. All right. So news keeps finding you in some way through your friends and family. And then I'm guessing it's making it's creating a lot of distress for you. It's making it hard for you to live your life. Distress. The red pen is a lot harder to write with for some reason. Maybe it's just because it's new. I don't use red as much. Maybe that's the issue. All right, so at work as well. So the news is finding you at work as well. All right. So we've got the problem. The news is finding you. It's creating distress for you. Now, here what I am going to say, some people don't like this, but I think it's true. If you're someone who is struggling with anxiety, with depression, with stress, it is very much okay for you to try to create some distance here between yourself and the news. And people don't like when I say this, because often the reaction I get is, you know, what a privileged thing for you to say, that you can just distance yourself from the news. Ali, there's so much bad stuff happening out there. It's we need to be advocates for all, against all this injustice, against this, against that, right? And all of that is true. There's a lot of difficult things happening in the world right now. And at the same time, the very first thing you have to do is you have to take care of yourself. You have to be able to show up for yourself. You have to be able to make progress on your day-to-day life. That means getting up, getting out the door, doing the things you have to do in your life, whether it's school, whether it's work, whether it's helping family, whether it's helping friends, whether it's showing up for your community, whatever it is, there's stuff that you have to do. And you have to be able to get through that daily life. And for many of us, if stress, anxiety, that kind of stuff is already difficult for you, then moving through your day-to-day life on top of all the difficult news that's out there, especially the way in which news has become weaponized, where and news has become weaponized and sensationalized, and it's become much more difficult to get it off your head. The sensationalism of news has been around for a very long time. In America, we had this thing called yellow journalism. You can go to the founding of the United States and a lot of the propaganda, the Federalist paper, from the beginning of this country, news has been sensationalized. That's always true. I think the difference now is news is algorithmically refined to have the most emotional, impactful headlines and statements and clips all circulated very quickly to go viral very fast. That's number one. So the algorithms make it very easy for really emotional stuff to get out there. Number two, this stuff finds us in so many ways. It's always living in your pocket. When my parents were my age in the United States, you got your news in the newspaper in the morning, maybe on the radio on the way to work, and then you got evening news on TV, and that was it. There were set periods of time where you got news. And also, there were a lot of standards. You couldn't get a lot of graphic stuff. It was not this highly intense emotional stuff. It was set periods of the day, not intense emotional stuff. Now, the news is always there. It can be incredibly graphic, and it can be really algorithmically charged to get you. And the third thing I would say is news really feels uncontrollable. And what I mean by that is most of us have lost local news. And what we get is more national or global news. And those issues feel very much out of our control. Those things feel very much like stuff that we can't make any meaningful difference on. So that makes you feel so small, so insignificant, so it makes you feel like, what does it matter? Like, I can't do anything. And it makes you feel very hopeless, right? So these are the big changes that have happened. So, Vess, you're not alone here. I think a lot of people are struggling with this, and we've got a lot of different solutions here. So let's go through it. Vess, you say it's very hard to articulate. I mostly feel insignificant, powerless, and afraid. I don't know, should I scream, fight, argue, and advocate, donate money and time? I have tried to educate people, no luck. Yeah, I think a lot of us are feeling this way, right? Like what do I do? Do I stay informed? Do I block it all out? Do I donate my time? Do I not? What the heck do I do here? This is very true. And Free Memes and Vine Kid says TV, TikTok, Instagram, this stuff is everywhere. Yeah. I'm going to tell you a really quick story. Really, really fast. First, coffee. I created an Instagram, a Finsta, just me, just my close friends. And I just wanted to post fun videos and photos from my life. I was always really interested in photography since high school. I sort of lost doing that over the last 5-10 years, and I wanted to make this Finsta just to connect with like 10 friends of mine and share like cool photos that I took. And it was cool for like a day or two. And then very quickly, Instagram, it was doing two things. One, it started pushing me to follow more people. It was not happy with me only following 10 people, and it kept pushing all these other people at me. And I didn't like that because I only wanted to follow my closest friends. And number two, I started seeing a lot of content that wasn't from the 10 friends I was following. It started pushing all this other stuff at me. And although I tried to escape from the news and all this other stuff that was like overwhelming, and I wanted this to be just a place of joy, it still kept sharing all this stuff that actually made me stressed out and feel not so good. It was sharing new stuff. It was sharing like all this pretty much just like subtle OnlyFans type content. It was pushing all this stuff at me that I didn't want. I just wanted to share my photos and connect with my friends, and Instagram would not let me. And I think that's what's happened on a lot of these platforms is they're not really social media anymore. They're just media. They've stopped being social. So it's very difficult here. And it's very it's a really difficult situation. So let's go through all these potential solutions here, right? So we know the problem can't escape the news. It finds you from your friends and family. It's creating some distress for you. Let's go through all these potential solutions and let's figure out what might be the best thing for you to do. And we've also talked about why this is a problem and why I think this is a problem for a lot more people. Let's go through the solutions now. And I'm going to put... Let's do this. I will do a green for the things that are probably really good potentials for you. And let's do... Ooh, I almost picked my Sharpie marker. Don't want to do that. That's a permanent marker. Do I have a yellow? Let me see. Do I have a yellow marker thing? No, I got blue. I got red. All right. We'll go with green with definites, and then maybe we'll cross out ones that we definitely don't think are good options. All right. Throw away your phone. This was the very first thing I wrote down. So, Vess, you said that the news anxiety, the news overwhelm, it's coming at you through friends and family. Is that in person? Or is that through text messages and through your phone? Let us know if you have a good answer for that one. And your answer might be both. It comes at you both ways. So my first thing here was throw away your phone. I think the reason I wrote that down as my very first thing is it's kind of my desire. It's what I want to do so much is just get rid of it. And I've looked into like nothing phones or dumb phones, and that doesn't work for me. These are like phones that don't do much except make phone calls, take notes, give you directions, and all that sort of thing. And it doesn't work for me because there are so many things in my day-to-day life that require a smartphone, specifically things that require a camera, a scanning, and some kind of app. Like my son's daycare, I need that to check him in. I could write him in, but it's so much harder. And I'll sometimes come across a restaurant and I can't order unless I'm using a QR code, which is so stupid. Like we're taking away all the friction from our daily lives, which is only making us more dependent on technology for the sake of some kind of convenience. But that convenience is ripping us away from our human-to-human connection, and it's making us more dependent on this technology. That's so dumb. What are we doing? What are we doing, folks? But this idea I have, this dream I have, of throwing away my phone. Well, okay, that's probably not super realistic, right? So I can kind of cross that off. At the same time, we can definitely have phone breaks, right? We can create a little bit more distance from us and our phones. And this is where I'm actually quite envious of people who don't have children because for me, when my kids are at school, when they're at daycare, when they're on a play date, I need to have my phone. It's kind of the only way I have of being connected if there is some kind of emergency of being able to show up. I don't have a landline. I don't have a phone number here at home that people can call. Um, I need to have a phone just in case there is some kind of emergency. And at the same time, you can have some breaks from your phone. You can, and this is something I do. If my kids are at home, I try to not have my phone in my pocket. I try to have it in a different place, just so I can get a little bit of a break from it for a period of time. So you can't throw away your phone, but maybe you can have a break from your phone. Let me write that in. Break from phone. Maybe you can increase the amount of time that you can have a break from that, and that might help. This is something I encourage parents to do, is when they're introducing a phone for their kid, is to make sure that the kid's phone sleeps in a different room than where your kid sleeps. But this is also sometimes good advice for grown-ups too, is have your phone sleep somewhere else. Don't have it next to your bed. Don't have it be the thing that's wiring you when you're trying to wind down at nighttime. So that's the first thing we've got over there. All right, let's keep going here. Block news websites. So Vess, I know this is not a big issue for you because you're getting all this news overwhelmed from friends and family. But for the rest of us, yeah, you can block news websites. There are a ton of website blockers out there, and you can just block the stuff that is difficult for you. And this is where, people will tell me, but Ali, I need to be informed. I need to know if something's happening. So number one, if there is some kind of emergency that's happening, that information will find you some way. In most places, there are emergency alerts that are issued. Over here in I'm in California, and we have an early earthquake warning system. So if there's an earthquake that's triggered somewhere on the West Coast, we'll receive a text message that'll give us a few seconds of a heads up before it happens. And there's also apps that you can use to track that information. But usually if there's a big scale emergency, you'll get a text message about it. Most of the other breaking news alerts you get are big national things that actually have no impact on your day-to-day life. So I would say, and I do say, that in general, blocking news websites that are difficult for you is helpful. At the very least, block those alerts. You don't need those breaking news alerts. When was the last time a breaking news alert was actually helpful, informative, and something you could take action on? Unless it's related for your work and you need to follow some type of news for your work, it's probably not going to be helpful for you. So block that stuff. Turn off those turn off those notifications. It's not helpful for you. So I like that one. Let me put a green. We're going to put break from phone, put that in green. Block news websites. Let's put that in green. I think that's totally doable. All right. Only check at specific times. So this is a good one for news anxiety. One of the things that is such a seductive thing for our minds is to refresh our feeds and to see, is there something new here? Is there a new update? Our anxiety is fueled by uncertainty. Most major news stories are full of uncertainty. There isn't any clear answer, especially if there's breaking news. If there's some major event that's just happened, there's not a lot of certainty around it. There's a lot of uncertainty around it. Our minds do not like uncertainty. They don't like not knowing what is happening, not having answers. This is what drives all good stories, is what's called open loops. Jack went up the beanstalk. Then he saw a giant, but that giant was not happy. The giant started chasing Jack. See, don't you want to know what happens next, right? I've opened this loop. There's uncertainty there. There's a conflict there. There isn't resolution there. Your mind wants to know, how does this all play out? What's the answer? And a lot of breaking news stories are kind of like that. This thing has happened. It's really bad. We're trying to figure out what's going on. Stay tuned. Like, that's terrible. That's just so much uncertainty. So instead of trying to refresh, check, see if there's updates, try to check the news only at specific times. So that means maybe only in the morning and only in the evening. That means maybe only once a week. So if there's something you really care about, if there's a story or an angle or some type of subject matter that is really important to you, what you can do is you can only check that once a week. You can subscribe to newsletters on that topic that might provide more weekly updates on it. You don't need to be plugged into it day to day, because for most major causes, most major issues, there isn't a ton of day-to-day changes. And unless you're someone who's very heavily impacted by that day-to-day issue, you don't really need to know how it's changing day to day. You don't. It's just not that important to you. So try to check only at specific times, maybe only in the morning, maybe only in the evening, or maybe only every week. That's totally fine. I'm going to give that one a green too. I think that's totally doable. Tell people not to send me news. All right, Vest, this one might be a good one for you. And I am 100% owning up to, this is hard. This is a hard one to do, and it's probably also super critical for you to do. This is where you are telling people who might be sending you difficult things that, hey, this is very hard for me. So I've got a few people in my life who do this, who send me like really depressing memes, or who send me just the worst news stories, stuff that I can't act on at all, stuff that's really terrible, stuff that I have a hard time getting out of my head, stuff that just makes me feel like a lump of a sack of sad potatoes or something like that, right? Like this stuff comes to me too, Vess, and I hate it. What's important here is letting people know how it's affecting you, number one. And so you might say something like, I really, really, really care about you, and I really care about our friendship. Or, I really love you if they're a family member or something like that. And I really want to stay in touch with you. I really love talking to you. I really love being in touch. And when I get these news updates that are shared over text from you or from anyone else, It is very difficult for me. Like these images, these stories, they stick in my head for a long time, and I have a hard time turning those things off. And it makes it really hard for me to go about my daily life. I still want to keep in touch with you. I still want to be in touch, but I just can't. I can't see these news stories, and I'm working really hard to deal with this issue myself. So I'm wondering if it's in any way possible um, for you not to share these stories with me. What do you think? And have some conversation about that and see how people respond to that. Maybe that's too hard and you want to soften that up a little bit, but it's some version of saying, here's what's happening. I really, really care about you and I care about our relationship. I want to stay in touch and I'm working hard on this. Here's what I think we could do. And see how that person responds to it. I think what is happening here is, you know, different things are hard for different people. And the people who are sending you these stories, the people that are talking to you about these things, they are probably struggling with it too. And they might be trying to deal with their struggles by sharing this stuff with you and hoping that they can talk it out and that this will help. And by sharing that this is actually not helpful for you and it's actually making things harder and it's actually impacting your relationship, that might change the situation. If that doesn't change the situation, if they're not really willing to work with you on it, then you might need to ignore those messages. Or another thing you can do is if they're coming over through text messages, you can mute the conversation. And then you only check that text thread once a day, once every few days, things like that. I think if you've made a good attempt at having this conversation and those conversations keep continuing, then it's okay for you to create a little boundary right over there and to mute that person, mute that text thread, and to only check it every now and then. This is harder if this is happening in person. But I think if it's happening in person, you can also say something like, I know this is important. It's really hard for me to have this conversation. I'm trying really hard to deal with this kind of stress in my life. Is it okay if we talk about something else? Because this is really hard. It's hard for me to deal with all the thoughts and images and stress that comes along with this type of conversation. So Vess, you can try that, and I wonder if that'll be helpful for you. So let me know what you think, Vess, about that one, and I am going to put a green on this. So for people just joining us, this is Support Stack. We are working through one problem together, and right now we're working through can't escape the news. I can't escape the news. We're working through these problems together. The next one I got here is audio only news. So what I like about this one, this is actually one of the things I do a lot in my own life. So this is where I try to listen to news through audio instead of reading it or instead of watching it. And the reason for that is what I've learned about myself is if I listen to news, it doesn't get stuck in my head as much. What really gets stuck in my head are pictures and visuals. And I think the reason for that is most humans, we are really wired for visual input. We're really pretty visual biased as a species. And so seeing something, it can live on in our minds in a way that audio and um, and video, or seeing something through video or through pictures can live on in our minds, I think, more than if we just hear it as audio. So it's just a lot easier for me if I consume the exact same news story, but just as an audio versus video. It's just way easier for me to deal with the audio. Maybe that's a case for you too, but try that out. I know a lot of people might not have access to audio based radio news, but there are a ton of podcasts out there that can be good sources of news and information that you can just listen to. And so that might be a good way to deal with it. So, audio only. The next one I have is only weekly news. So here, if there's a cause that you really care about, if there's some type of news story that you really want to follow, find a way to get regular updates on it. There's a lot of weekly newsletters that you can follow about a certain issue, and that way you can stay up to date on it, and you can only get that news as needed on a regular basis. So you're staying up to date, you're knowing what's happening, you feel like you're an informed citizen, but you aren't getting that every single day. So that's something I actually do. I follow, there's a few different newsletters I use to follow, especially issues related to mental health, since that's super important to me and my job and my career and everything I do. So I need to be very up to date on that kind of stuff, but I don't need to follow it on a day-to-day level, because what's the purpose in that? All right, number 7 is only local news. I'm not going to circle this one because not everyone can do this. So this is one of the things that I really hate about how news has evolved. News has become so national and global in focus. So people are really feeling so insignificant and small, and like there's nothing they can do related to the news they're experiencing. I just noticed I don't have... There we go. Now we got the hair light on. Now I'm popping a little bit more. So a lot of people don't have access to news that is tied to their local communities. And news has transitioned so much globally and nationally that we've lost touch with the news that's related to our local environment, news that's related to the actual things that really impact our day-to-day life. Like, so much of my life is related to my local community, the schools that my kids go to, the safety of the local community, of crime in the local community, of transportation access, of housing access, of the quality of the streets. And these are a lot of the local issues that really impact my life. Like a couple of years ago, there was a group of parents that were getting together to try to install this safety crosswalk in my daughter's school to make it safer for kids to cross the street. And that was an issue I really cared about, and it would have a very tangible, positive effect on our life if this crosswalk where kids walk to school every day was made safer. And so parents got together and they advocated for this issue, and it ended up passing the city council, and that got installed. That is great. That is local news. So is there a way to stay connected either to local news, to your local representatives, to your city representatives, to your city mayor, to local authorities? Is there a way for you to get connected more to the things that actually matter to your day-to-day life? That is super critical, because not only is it going to make you feel like you can make a positive contribution, like there is something you can do, because a lot of local issues are decided by just a few votes. And local representatives, they might only get feedback from a few people, but that feedback can push them in one direction or another. So there's actually a real big difference you can make in your local communities, but you kind of need to be plugged in to what's happening locally. And I think most people have really lost that ability because of the way news has changed. So get connected locally. That's going to make you feel better that you actually can do something. It's also going to maybe lead to some real positive change. Ves, you say setting up boundaries in person is something that I need to find confidence to do, especially with family. Perhaps this is where my focus should be, something I can control. Usually I distance away. So I was having a conversation with my friend today. No, not today, last night. I was having a conversation with my friend Matt, and I was telling him that my daughter loves to sing, and sometimes she sings so loud and so suddenly, and it comes out of nowhere, and it can really kind of scare me, and it can jolt me, and it can kind of trigger a little bit. I experience misophonia, which is a hatred of certain sounds, and it just usually that does not trigger misophonia, but it gets pretty close when my daughter just kind of suddenly starts singing. And what my friend Matt said is we really need to normalize wearing earplugs and headphones and noise canceling stuff around our family members. I was like, what are you talking about, Matt? And he said, there's so much of what we're going through is just our nervous systems are just so overly active, and anything that can bring down some of that activation is a good thing. And anything that can bring down some of that reactivity is a good thing, so that we are able to kind of move forward in a little bit more intentional way instead of such a reactive way. My friend Matt is also a psychologist like mine. No, that's not how humans talk, like me. And I was actually thinking about this because I have these earplugs. These are like my everyday earplugs. I use them just in case something's going on in the neighborhood. I really have very sensitive hearing, and when I hear, like, if there's construction going on in the neighborhood, it's very hard for me to focus on whatever work I'm doing. So I got these everyday earplugs, which I don't know if you can see this, but they kind of look like this, and they kind of sit in your ear like that. That's kind of what they look like. And they kind of block out a lot of the highs, and they kind of, to me, what it feels like is it's blocking out like 50%. So I can still hear, I can still be alert, I can still have conversations, but everything's not totally blocked out, which is different than like normal earplugs, which kind of try to block out everything. And so I tried this the other night because my son was actually playing with this toy. It's like a wannabe transformer toy, and it makes these loud sounds. It goes just does that over and over, and it's so loud, and he loves it. And for whatever reason, this doesn't bother my daughter, it doesn't bother my wife, but it is, I cannot get out of my head when he does it. So I put these on, and gosh, it helped so much. It helped so much. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is why Gen Z walks around always wearing noise canceling headphones. Like, it so brings down reactivity. So, Ves, if you're in a situation where you can do that, try that and see if that works. Maybe that's like one boundary you can try. What's cool with a lot of noise canceling technology now is it's a lot cheaper, and a lot of it has adaptive mode where some of the sounds come in, but some of the sounds are blocked. If you don't have access to those kind of things, maybe you can find some like earplugs that that do block out some sound but allow some sound to come on. Now, if that would be just incredibly rude and inconsiderate to do that in the family situation you're in, you can, I think it is very fair to let people know, hey, this conversation is really hard for me, folks. I'm trying really hard to deal with this stuff and it's really stressing me out. Can we talk about something else? And if they're not willing to do that, can you step away from that situation? Now, if you can't step away from that situation, can you opt out of that situation in the future? Is there something you can do to not sit down at that dinner table, to not, if there's a certain relative that always brings up that conversation, can you start avoiding that relative or the situations where that relative brings up that conversation? I think having these conversations, especially cross-generationally, is very different. What I tend to experience is the younger you are, the more the weight of these things really hit, because it's not just the news, but it's the news against everything else that you might be thinking about, right? The state of the economy, the state of politics, the state of the climate, how safe you feel in your communities. Like going to school meant something very different for me than it does for my daughter. The first major school shooting in the United States that happened, Columbine, it happened when I was almost graduating high school. And it was very shocking. It was very scary, but it seemed like an anomaly. It seemed rare. It seemed like, okay, this is a once in a lifetime thing. And then they kept happening, and they happened more and more and more and more and more. And now my daughter has these emergency drills that she goes through all the time, and we have to have all these questions with her about school shooters and what that means and stuff, right? So that's a very different reality than I had. And that's my reality was it's different than what my parents had. So our nervous systems are kind of wired differently. The weight of the world feels heavier on the youth. So the weight of the world is heavier the younger you are. And so can you opt out of some of these conversations? Can you move? If you have done your due diligence advocating for yourself and people still want to move forward with these conversations, then they are kind of disregarding what you have to say. So maybe you can disregard the conversation. Maybe you can move away from that conversation. Free Memes and Vine Kid says, does your free 7-lesson guide effective for social anxiety disorder? I've got actually, if you go to braverwithanxiety.com and you go to lessons, one of the most recent lessons I did was on social anxiety, and I've got a 3-part lesson on that, so you can check that out. And Vess says, YouTube is probably the only platform I spend time on, and this is where I get news from too, though I only watch creators I have subscribed to, same as a small selection of news outlets that I read. Yeah, I kind of hate how you go to the YouTube homepage, and one of the first sections it recommends is all these news stories. Like, I don't really want that. Like, remember when YouTube was mostly just your subscriptions, and the very first thing it showed you were the things that you subscribed to? Well, you can still recreate that. You can go to your YouTube subscriptions and make that, bookmark that, and just open that up and see what populates. Or you can make bookmarks to your favorite creators and just open their pages and see what pops up. So maybe that is something that can be helpful for you. More coffee. All right, next one. Consume power-ups instead. So this idea is kind of related to what you were just talking about, Vess, but it's about consuming stuff that is really like building you up, consuming stuff that is making you feel hopeful, confident, helping you to move forward. This idea here is kind of like you are what you eat. So if all you consume is angry, anxiety-provoking, stressful content, then guess what? You're going to be angry. You're going to be anxious. You are going to be stressed out. It's you don't need a PhD in psychology to know that. So much of the content, there's so much content out there that is junk that'll make you feel terrible. I actually think a lot of this stuff is on TikTok. Just really bite-sized, hateful, anxiety-provoking things. Now, the opposite is also true. There's a lot of really good stuff out there that'll make you feel fantastic, that'll make you feel good, that'll kind of make you believe, that'll inspire you, that'll kind of guide you forward. So do an audit. Someone said, audit your inputs. That's number 19. I'm going to circle that too. And this is absolutely true, that audit the stuff that you're putting into your head and make sure that the stuff that you are consuming is the stuff that is inspiring you, the stuff that is making you feel good, the stuff that is making you feel joyful, the stuff that is making you feel meaningful. I try to do this really, really hard. And I've tried to cut out a lot of the stuff that is really divisive or divisive, if I want to say that more in an American way. I try to really have content creators that I really love. So, and I knocked on TikTok, but there's a lot of like really good stuff on TikTok. I try not to use TikTok much because it's that short form content is not that good for my brain because it wires me to just swipe. I try to exercise my mind's focus, and I try to consume stuff that really needs me to continuously focus for a while. So I'm going to open up my YouTube feed here, and let me tell you about some of the creators that I follow that are just really great for me. Let me see if I can find my subscriptions. Yeah. Okay. Oh man. The first one here, Struthless. I love Struthless. Oh my gosh. He is fantastic. One of his latest videos is called Live Internet Theory. Not a name he came up with, but it's this idea of the dead internet theory, how the internet is getting so populated by bots and AI content, and what can we do to bring back life to the internet of real content that really connects with us, that shows us humanity. And so Struthless is fantastic for that. I think he does such a great job of using creativity and art to talk about mental health topics, and I find his content really inspiring and really hopeful and really human. So he's a really great content creator. He struggled with addiction and thoughts of suicide, and he used creativity to kind of work himself out of that. He also came up with a book called Doom and Bloom, which I just started reading, and I love it. So he's someone who I really love. I love his content, and he makes me feel good. I also love Adam Savage's Tested. I love his channel because he so much talks about how to make things and how to create things. And even though I don't identify as a maker, I really do get inspired by seeing him make things and hearing him talk about things, and it kind of gets me inspired to make some stuff as well. I love Anna Akana. I love her videos. I love her skits. I think they're funny, and I think she has a way of taking difficult subjects and finding the humor in them, which I think is really important. I think humor is helps us to talk about difficult things in such a easier way, and so I love her stuff. Cleo Abram. She's fantastic too. And what I love about her is she really takes such a big picture, deep dive. So much news is really these hot take, short snippets, uncertainty. And what Cleo does really well is cut through all that noise by doing a much deeper dive that gives you a more comprehensive understanding here. Let me see. Let me try to pick up some different ones that maybe you all haven't heard of before. Oh gosh, this is a channel I really love. They don't make a lot of content, but every frame a painting. They haven't put out something in like 7 months, but I love how they take pop culture and art and ask these big questions related to it. The Vlog Brothers, John and Hank Green, I love their content too because they are really good at zooming out and asking these big picture questions that I haven't really considered myself. I'm trying to think. Let me find some other folks that you. Oh, Matt Davella. He's been so great, and he's been talking a lot about how hustle culture is terrible and social media is terrible, and he's been talking about slow productivity and ways in which we can slow down and focus on what's meaningful instead of focusing on what's viral. And so much of content has gone towards like big, immediate, wild things that you haven't seen. And he's really good at focusing on small, meaningful, slow. I love that. I love those ideas, and those are ideas that I try to bring into my life every single day. Let me see if I can bring one more that I really, really like. Oh, look, it's recommending me right now up top. That's always weird. I don't need to see this. Although that thumbnail and that's looking pretty good. It looks like so much cool stuff is happening here. But those are some of my favorite YouTube channels that really help me with a lot of this stuff. I'm wondering if there's some that you recommend that are great power-ups for you. Storied Experts is in the house, and Storied Experts says Anna Akana is a great scriptwriter. I agree. So sharp with her writing. She is fantastic. Meme Machine's in the house. Meme Machine, you started a new job this week, right? How'd that job go? How's it going? I hope you had a good Monday start to that. Storied Expert says, I love Struthless too. Fantastic. And Vess says, I love Struthless. Oh my God, right? Like, isn't he absolutely the best? Vess says, I strive for content in the realm of what you do, Dr. Ali. Oh, very sweet of you. Thank you. The people I intentionally watch and follow are amazing. And yes, 1000% on subscriptions page as my home page. Thank you. Thank you. I do sometimes discover a lot of great stuff on the homepage, especially like new creators I discover on the homepage that like I would never otherwise find. And I think that's great about YouTube. The problem is you're also going to uncover all this junk that is just terrible for your mind. So just to be really careful with it, I think is really, really, really critical. And Fix says, I had no idea there's a live stream today. I meant to post this live stream notification earlier in the week, and then I forgot. Don't tell anyone, but I forgot. So it went up a little bit late. So with that, so folks that are just joining us, I think we got a lot of people who just started joining us in the last few minutes. This is Support Stack, where we are going through one problem that the community is dealing with. Today's problem is can't escape the news, and we are generating potential solutions based on me, based on you, and trying to figure out some ways through. So to recap, we have blocking news websites, getting breaks from your phone, only checking the news at specific times, telling people do not send me news, creating boundaries between people that are that insist on having all those news conversations with you, audio only news, only weekly news on issues that you really care about and want to stay up to date on, only local news, consuming power-ups instead. That's what we were just talking about. The next one here that we had was acceptance and letting go. Acceptance does not mean, oh, I think this is great. That's not what acceptance means. What acceptance means is understanding that there are certain things that you can't control, and this is the way it is. And instead of having this like push and pull and tug of war, this back and forth on these issues that you can't control, where you're like, no, I gotta stop this news. I'm gonna try to get rid of it. No, there's so much more bad news. Oh my gosh, this week was terrible. Okay, I'm gonna try to really disconnect and not, no, it's so terrible. There's so much of it, right? Instead of having this back and forth, acceptance is about letting go. Like, I'm not gonna play this game of tug of war. I'm gonna let go of the rope. I'm not gonna play with it. I am not gonna have this back and forth. I'm not gonna struggle with it. I'm coming to terms with this is a painful part of life right now. And I think is absolutely a painful part of life. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. We are more connected to that uncertainty through our media. And those problems really seem big and they seem hard to solve. All of these things are true. I am not going to sugarcoat it. This is all absolutely true. I think we are dealing with a lot of big problems that probably the world hasn't seen since maybe the 60s, since maybe the height of the Cold War. And all those times the world came pretty close to nuclear war. This is, I'd rank this up there with that. I know we had 2 world wars and there's a lot of other conflict happening in the world, but this kind of uncertainty, this feeling like we're on the edge of something, to me, this feels closest to that era. And that uncertainty is unavoidable. The pain of that world is unavoidable. And we don't need to suffer with it. So pain is unavoidable, but suffering is not. And the suffering comes through our struggle with that pain. The suffering comes from when we are not able to come to terms with the reality we're in. And the reality we're in is the media landscape is pretty broken. And we're constantly inundated by these big global problems that don't have any easy solutions, and we all feel very insignificant to that. So the first thing we have to do is come to terms with that this is the world that we're in right now. We're in this like transitionary time. We have outgrown social media and we haven't found the next thing yet. We haven't found the thing that really connects us. That we have become disconnected from the local issues that really impact us, and it makes us feel very small and insignificant. Okay, so that's the world we're in. Acceptance is about coming to terms with that and not having that game of tug of war. We're all dealing with this, and this is the situation we're in. Or acceptance can look like, I'm going to my relative's house, Uncle Tom, Uncle Brad, Auntie Selma is there, and she's going to bring up this stuff. He's going to bring up this stuff. This is what they do. Instead of having this tension of like, why, how do I make it stop, blah, blah, blah. Acceptance is more about, this is the way it is. And this is the way it is for now. And this is what's going to happen. It doesn't mean I like it. It doesn't mean I support it. It just means this is the situation we're in right now. That is acceptance. not easy to do. It takes practice, but it is about letting go of that fight that we have over this pain. It's about coming to terms with it. So I'm going to circle that one because I think that's something we all can be very, we can practice. And it's not something you achieve and it's done, but it's something we continuously practice and work on. Number 10 was think local. I think I've done a lot of talking around that one, around thinking local. And that just means connecting to local news if you have it. If you don't, connecting to local issues. So connecting to local community groups, getting on their newsletter, seeing what issues are going on in your community, connecting to local chapters of issues that you care about, connecting with local elected officials, and seeing what are the issues in your community. Like most issues in local communities are like, oh, our sidewalks are broken. Can we fix that? Or our streets have too many potholes. Or teachers need more pencils for schools. These kind of issues, folks, are solvable. These kind of issues impact your day to day. These kind of issues are something that you can work on. There's a stoplight here next to my house that needs a turning signal, and it doesn't have a turning signal, and I think it's really dangerous. And I've been putting pressure on my local elected official to try to fix that thing. And what he's told me is the challenge about that is that street is actually not governed by the city, but that street is actually governed by the state. So now I need to put pressure on my state person to try to work on it too. But I'm working on this issue. I want this issue fixed. I know I can do something about it. And it might be something I need to tell more of my neighbors about so we can all collectively put more pressure on it. But this is an issue that can be fixed, and I know it'll actually save lives because that intersection is super dangerous and most people don't know about it, but I'm going to try to get this thing fixed. I think we can do something about it. Reality instead of media quotes? No. Reality instead of media. So this is the first one that we got from the community. And I think what's great about this one is trying to find things that are real as opposed to things that feel not so real. So much of news can now feel like propaganda, and it's manufactured, and it's created to amp up intensity and partisanship. So finding things that feel a bit more real and the things that make you feel more grounded, that can be helpful. So this could be finding the purest form of the news. So there are... You can go, so in the United States, we have the AP wire, which is like the most bland version of the news. You can go to that. Or you can go to all these much more emotionally intense versions of it. You can go to MSNBC, you can go to Fox News, and you'll get very much more emotional based news on the exact same story. So one way I can interpret this idea of reality instead of media is trying to focus on the most bland version of the story. That could be one way to deal with it. Maybe there's other ways that the chat was talking about that. Laffy Bun, I see you. Good to see you in the chat. Welcome here. I forgot about the live stream, says Laffy Bun. A little bit my fault because I posted the notification for this very much delayed. And Laffy Bun says, I'm very tired. I watched like 5 hours of Dr. Kirk today. Probably overdid it, but that's fine. I can review on stuff I don't remember. And Dr. Kirk Honda, which is Psychology in Seattle, my colleague who posts a lot of great content over there. Dr. Kirk is great. I don't know how he churns out so much stuff. But Dr. Kirk is very prolific and puts out a lot of great stuff. So Laffy Bun, we are doing Support Stack. We are working in a community around a problem, and today's problem is, can't escape the news, and we've come up with all these different solutions, and we're going through all these solutions right now as a community. So the next thing we had was more time with friends. Oh, I love this one. You know me, I love social support. I love the idea of getting help from other people in the way that you want to be helped. Across everything in mental health, getting support from other people in the way you want to be supported has the best outcomes after you've been dealing with a crisis, after you've been dealing with a setback, after you've been dealing with some type of stressor. Getting help from other people in the way you want to be helped is the absolute best thing that you can do. This doesn't mean, oh, I want to talk about my feelings. It can. It 100% can be that. It 100% can be, I'm going through a tough time. There's a lot on my mind. So it can be emotional support. But sometimes maybe it's informational support. Look, I just got laid off. I just had a setback and I need help. Like, what advice do you have for my job search? What advice do you have on my resume? What advice do you have on interviews? So it can be emotional, it can be informational. It also can be practical support. Maybe you're going through a tough time and you just need someone to come over and help you with the chores that you have around your house. Maybe you need someone who's just going to come over and help you do your laundry. Or maybe you need someone who's just willing to buy you dinner or make you dinner or bake you cookies. Right? Maybe it's some kind of practical help. And sometimes social support, it's just about a distraction. Let's go play basketball together. Let's go play a cozy board game together. Let's go do something together. Because anything that gets you out of your space, both the space that you're stuck in, as well as the mental space you're stuck in, anything that gets you some distraction from that can be a very, very useful thing. So if a friend invites you to come over and play board games together, that means you got to clean yourself up. You got to take a shower. You got to put on some clean clothes. You got to get out of the house. You got to go to their place. You have to try to focus on the thing that you're doing. And all of that gives you a little bit of break from what you're going through. It gives you some purpose for the day. It helps you to structure the day. And it gets you out of your head and out of your space. All of that is good. So whether it's emotional support, information, practical support, some type of distraction, getting help from other people is the best thing we can absolutely do when we're having a hard time. I know, Vess, your question got this idea of can't escape the news. It got back to, well, the problem is I'm getting news stuff from friends and family. And that's where it gets back to, you got to advocate for yourself. You got to put some guardrails up here on these issues that are really difficult for you. But it is one of the best things that you could do is getting help from other people. Fix says, I built a garden under the tree with a lot of stones, which is legal in Berlin, but my neighbor said I should remove it because she is afraid that people might use the stones to throw them at cars. Whoa, okay, that sounds both very beautiful and very complicated. Like, how does that work? Like, whose tree is that? Is that the city's tree, the town's tree? Is it your neighbor's tree? Is it your tree? And I like the idea of building a beautiful garden. I love how centering that is. I love how that could be really, really beautiful. And really, like, I can see how that would be super meditative too. And now it's created this new conflict with your neighbor. That's tricky. I would talk to the neighbor and see what you can do. It's a public tree, says Fix. It's a public tree. Well, are there other rocks nearby? I feel like if someone wants to throw rocks at cars and there's other rocks nearby, they can very easily do that. Like, is this a common problem that's happening? That there's a lot of rocks and people are throwing those rocks? I feel like rocks are pretty easy to find. Um, I feel like this is maybe your neighbor might be worried about this situation, and is this a real problem? I don't know. Maybe you can talk to your neighbor about that. Let's see. Um, Solution number 13 here was reading. And what's cool about reading is you get to choose what you read. So, getting back to this idea of can't escape the news. Well, what you can do is you can't control what comes at you in your daily life, but you can control what you intentionally focus on. And so maybe you can find certain types of books that are helpful for you. They could also be magazines. They could also be online articles. Finding content that really helps you is so critical here. So it could be fiction is really helpful for you. I started out this year reading Lord of the Rings for the first time. I never read it before, and it was super helpful for me until we kind of got out of the Shire and things started to get intense. And then it was like more stressful for me, and I stopped reading it. But I'm reading other science fiction, which is helpful for me. I got my ebook right here, and let me pull up. Oh, check it out! I've got Struthless's book. I've got it open up right here. Doom and Bloom. It's right here. I've been reading that, and I really like it. But I wanna show you some of the other stuff that's been on my ebook that has been helpful for me. So Hyperion, which is a science fiction book, I've been reading that. I also started reading here. Where's my books? I also started reading This Is How You Lose the Time War, but then I kind of stopped reading it. It was a little like too poetic and stuff, and I found it to be like less helpful for me. I also started reading Brave New World, and I stopped reading that because it also got too intense. We need to normalize like ditching books. It's okay if you start a book and you never finish it for whatever reason. Oh, I started reading Foundation and Contact as well. Contact, I love the movie, but I never read the book, so I kind of picked that up. But and then I have Wicked here too. I was reading that before the movie came out, because I never read that before. But right now, the thing that is most sticking is Doom and Bloom from Struthless and also Hyperion. Those two books are super helpful for me at different times. I can kind of dive into them, and it helps me. But there's also you can go to your local library and poke around and see what you like. There's also so much great content on the internet to read that is not related to news, that is long form text that you can read. So absolutely finding stuff that is super chill for your brain, that helps you focus, is so helpful. And then finding a way to consume it in a way that is helpful for you, give that a shot. Try that out. All right. Number 14, notifications go away. I think this one came from did this come from the chat, or was this also one of mine? And one of the things about notifications are when you get a notification, you're giving permission for that app to completely stop and interrupt whatever you're doing in your life and to tell you, hey, stop it. Stop your day-to-day life. This thing right here is more important than whatever you're doing. You need to take a look. You need to pay attention to that. That is a lot of power. I don't think people realize how much power they give other corporations, other entities, other individuals when you allow them to send you notifications. The bottom line here is notifications break you out of the routine of your day. And so be very careful who you're giving permission to do that. I work very hard to tame my notifications. So the only notifications I get are core communication from my family, from my closest friends, and from my kids' schools. That's it. And also some work related stuff. I get some notifications about that. But that's it. I try very hard to keep my notifications just to that. Because that notification is I'm giving permission to whatever that is to completely stop my day and say, hey, pay attention to this. This is very important. So tame those notifications. Absolutely going to circle that, because like whatever stupid game you're playing, it doesn't need to notify you. Whatever news you're watching probably doesn't need to notify you. Whatever discount or sale shopping notification you have turned on, turn it off. It's probably not important, and you'll probably save some money if you do that. There's so much crap that just notifies you, and we really don't need to give it permission to do that. Heather says fanfic on the internet is often a good thing to read. Sometimes it's hit or miss, but never feels like not real reading or doesn't count. Yeah, totally. A good friend of mine became a very famous fanfic writer, I think for One Piece. I think she was writing stuff for One Piece, and she loved doing it, and then she ended up quitting because it just became so overwhelming. But it was so healthy for her, and she really loved it. And I think fanfic is great. It can sit that point of like, I really love this. It's in this world and genre that I really enjoy, and that it's not so overwhelming, that it's not so serious that you don't need to take it. It doesn't require your absolute complete attention. I think that one. I think fanfic is a really good one. All right, moving right along. Someone else said change environment. So that's a great one as well. You know, one of the best things you can do when you're stuck with news anxiety or any type of stress is to just do something. So our nervous systems are really wired to take action. So if you're stressed about something, that stress is this ancient survival mechanism. In the olden days, when we got stressed, it was because this animal was chasing us, or it's because we needed to escape from some type of danger. We needed to do something very quickly. And so stress really pushes us to take some type of action. This is what makes it very difficult with news anxiety, because there's no quick action you can take to address these big challenging problems that are facing us in the news. So one of the things you can actually do is to take some small action, to do something. We have this thing, I call it the stress loop, that some stress is activated, then you need to take action. Your body gets wired to take action. Your muscles tense up, your body starts pumping blood, you're breathing faster, you're getting more oxygen into your body, your heart is beating faster. All that stuff is your body being primed to take action. Your body's like, oh, something important's happening. You need to do something about this. So you need to do something about this. If you're getting overwhelmed by that stuff, go for a walk. Do some chores. Do some errands. Do something, anything that makes you feel like you're doing something. So you can go for a walk, you can play around in the garden, you could put some stones around your tree, you can put on some music and start dancing. Just do something that makes you feel like you're doing something. It sounds kind of silly, but it's very true. And that should help you with some of that stress. Now, this isn't quite change environment, but I think it's helpful context for change environment. But what change environment gets to also is how different we feel in different spaces. So going outside is very much centering. I think the reason for this is because there's so our nervous system is really wired to notice changes, not things that stay the same, but things that change. So this space I'm in right now, super silent. There's not much in here at all by design because I want to get good audio for all this video stuff that I do. But the moment I go outside, I'm going to hear birds. I'm going to feel the wind. I'm going to smell a lot of different things. I'm going to experience something. And that change, my nervous system is going to notice those changes and I'm going to start feeling differently. Or if I'm stuck feeling really tired from sitting down, getting some movement, it's going to be really good for my body. If you can't do that, then if you're stuck in the space you're at, then some type of sensory change, like I showed before. I've got, oh my gosh, my lavender flowers right here. They smell so good, folks. It always makes me feel very different. So some type of sensory change, some type of smell, some type of taste, something to listen to, some kind of music, some kind of sounds, bird song, something to touch and feel, some silly putty, something, some sensory change. So try to change your environment. If you can't change your environment, then change your senses. That's going to help you too. So I definitely circled that. That one is really good. And Meme Machine says, I've been taking walks when I have anxiety attacks, especially these days. It's even better when it's cold out. Very grounding. Yeah, sometimes that hit of cold against your skin, it can really jolt you, and jolt you in a good way. You can simulate that by if you have a fridge in your home with a freezer that you can easily open up. Sometimes opening up that freezer and just kind of sticking your head in front of that freezer, you get that jolt of cold, and that can help you as well. When it's too cold outside, that can feel really bad. Like in I don't know Celsius because I'm a silly American that uses a Fahrenheit scale. But when things get below 18 degrees, it's really hard for me to be outside. But when it's like a brisk cold that's not overwhelming, but it kind of like, ugh, it kind of wakes you up, I like that cold too. Laffy Bun says, I wonder if curate actions is a mechanism for why knitting with a blunt needle in psychiatric wards can help process trauma. It's not just doing something due to stress, but due to all the emotion. I think doing something for some people makes it easier to do other bigger things. So some people need to fidget to kind of focus themselves. My daughter's this way. For me, doing things with my hands when I'm trying to focus makes things harder. For my daughter, it's the opposite. Doing things with her hands definitely helps her to focus more. Everyone's a little bit different. And sometimes doing stuff is what helps you to do bigger things. Everyone's a little bit different here, and it's about figuring out what is important for you and what is helpful for you. And then related to notifications earlier, Aniket said, so true. Last week I spent some time disabling all the notifications except for messages from my important people. It helped me focus on work a lot better. Yay! Yay! I'm so happy to hear that. You are winning the war on notifications there. Oh, gosh. I get so angry when apps are like, we'd like to notify you. I'm like, no, I just installed you. You think I just downloaded your app. I don't know if your app is any good. You think I'm going to just like give you permission to interrupt me no matter what? No, you need to earn that from me. And you're probably not going to because your app probably sucks. I'm probably not going to use you. And we are not going to allow these notifications. Laffy Bun says 18 degrees Fahrenheit equals 7.7 degrees Celsius. Thank you for that real-time conversion there, Laffy Bun. So yeah, when things get to 7.7 degrees Celsius, it's too much for me. I do not want to be in there. And Heather says, I keep a cold pack in the freezer for this reason at all times. That is great. That is great. All right, so we've got change your environment. No social media is number 16. we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but social media sucks now. Is there any kind of social media you all still like? Because I find most of it is pretty terrible and it's not very social. Um, I still like YouTube. I still find a lot of good stuff. Long form is always better for me than short term or short form content. So that's why I don't really like TikTok as much. And I don't like that this is not good for my brain because I will spend like an hour doing this just watching total junk. It's it's not a great place for my brain to be. I would much rather open a long form video and give it a few minutes and see if this kind of resonates with me and if it connects with me. I don't want to do this. This this is not good for this. So yeah, I don't like TikTok for that reason. Instagram, I don't even see the people I want to follow anymore. Facebook hasn't been good for me in ages. I will say Reddit is still pretty good for me. And there's I watch or I read or I look at a lot of stupid fun things on Reddit. Like there's a lot of good memes. There's some silly Star Trek communities. There's this Star Trek community. What's it called? It's like Crappy Daystrom Institute or something like that, or it might be more of a not safe for work name for it. But let me see if I can find some. Oh yeah, so I just opened up my Reddit. My favorite movie in the world is Jurassic Park. I follow the Jurassic Park Reddit community. That's great. There's some photography stuff, some Star Trek stuff I follow that is really helpful for me. Daystrom Institute, which is like super nerdy Star Trek stuff. I follow that. Um, there's there's Treknobabble, which is just weird Star Trek things. So I follow these things. This is great because this is more just silly, fun things that I can follow that are don't really stress me out, but they're just like really passionate fans of different things posting stuff. So that is helpful for me. Laffy Bun says Healthy Gamer social platform Circle is my replacement for all the social media, excluding Twitch, YouTube, and Discord. Circle is genuinely a really good time. Unfortunately, it's paid access, and I think that's very true, Laffy Bun. There's a lot of now communities on Circle, like Healthy Gamers, Dr. K's, on Discord, that you can join that are really focused on like one topic, and these can be really good places to connect with people. And Meme Machine says I have to put a time limit on Instagram or I'll cool my brain. Um, totally get it. Heather says Blue Sky and a couple of Discords is able to curate both to keep the stress out. I've tried Blue Sky. I'm on Blue Sky, Heather. Um, so many of the people I follow on Blue Sky, maybe that's a problem. I follow a lot of psychology people on Blue Sky, and they're posting a lot of stuff that is really stressful for me, and I haven't quite curated it. And when I use Blue Sky, it reminds me of what I used to have on Twitter, and I don't have anymore. Like I had a really great. I loved my Twitter feed. It was a lot of cool people that are just posting stuff I was into. And when Twitter changed and transformed into X, all those people sort of left and it's gone. So when I use Blue Sky, to me, it just feels like this like faint glimmer of what it used to be. So it's harder for me, but I know what's cool about Blue Sky is gives you a lot of options to curate your feed and to make it what works for you. And I'm glad to hear that you found a way to make it work for you. So that is social media. Focus on what you can control. So focus on what you control is a great one for escaping this news anxiety. And I kind of talked about focus locally, focus on things that you can control, focus on things you can make a meaningful difference on. The big guiding thing for me now, the big guiding force on my daily life has become, oh, Laffy Bun says Blue Sky is a more ethical hollow shell of a less ethical Twitter, it seems like. Well said, Laffy Bun. Well said. I think that is absolutely true. And Heather says curating's a must. Without it, it was bad ants, bad once. I figured out it reminds me of Twitter of 2015ish. That was like prime Twitter. That was a good era we had. Oh man, Twitter of 2015. That was a good time. Pretty much before the new Star Wars movies came out. That was a good era of Twitter. But okay, the guiding force for me now is how can I be the best part of someone's day? How can I do one thing today that becomes the best part of someone else's day? Whether it is for my family, whether it is for some random bystander, whether it is, if I'm in a public space and someone has like a cool jacket on, or they got a cool sticker on their bag or something like that, like giving someone an authentic compliment about some cool thing that they're into. Like, how can I do, or if someone like drops something, how can I pick it up and get it to them? Like, how can I do one small thing that ends up becoming the other person's best thing from their day? That's all I try to do. That is my guiding force. That is what my mission is every day, is I just try to have one moment like that. And so when we think about focus what you can control, that is in your power. It is absolutely in your power. We all have certain strengths. We all have certain abilities, and we can all do something that is a big thing for someone else. Like maybe you're really good cooking stuff. Maybe you're really good at baking stuff. How can you like use that gift that you have to help someone else, to be the best part of someone else's day? That's huge, folks. I'm a terrible cook. And if someone like offers to cook or make something for me, I get so happy because I'm so bad at doing that. My gifts are really about, I'm a good listener, and I think I can create space and conversation that is helpful. That is what I'm really good at. And that's why I love doing these live streams. I love spending this time together with you. I'm not a good cook. I'm not good at making things. I'm not a good organizer or any of those kind of other things. But I know that I can spend time with people and I can listen and we can have a conversation and we can go deep or we can stay light. We can do whatever you need to, and I can be there for you in that moment. So I try to use that to help other people. Now, how can I do that with people I don't know, like random bystanders? I'm really good at giving compliments. I am super good at this. It sounds like a weird thing to brag about, but I'm going to brag about it because I am really good at like finding people I don't even know and seeing something genuinely cool about that person, whether it might be their glasses, whether it might be like music they're listening to, whether it might be a shirt that they have. And I'm really good at, when I find something that resonates with me, finding a way to tell that person. I was at a kid's birthday party last week, and there was a guy that was sort of standing in a corner by himself, just having some seltzer water and just standing there. And he had a shirt that said Rocco's Modern Life, which, if you don't know, is this cartoon from Nickelodeon in the 90s. And I loved that cartoon. And so I saw it and I went over to him and I was like, dude, I love your shirt. I don't know this guy. I've never met him. He's quiet, standing in the corner. And I just said, I love your shirt. I loved that show. Oh my gosh, I miss that show so much. We ended up talking for like an hour just about that show, about other shows, and then eventually we started talking about like the work that this guy does, and he works for a local organization that that tries to help create more places for pedestrians and for bicyclists. Like he does like cool stuff, and we ended up talking all about this stuff. This is my superpower. And it's not about making fake connection, but when I find something that genuinely connects with me, I am very good at trying to have a conversation around it and giving that other person a genuine compliment about it. That's my superpower. That's my gift. And I really, Fix says that is a beautiful gift. You know how I learned this, Fix? I read the book when I was in high school, How to Win Friends and Influence People, because I did not know how to win friends and I absolutely didn't know how to influence people. But this was a book I found in the library when I was trying to learn how to be more social, because I was super socially anxious and I was wanting to make more friends and connect with more people. And that is one of the chapters in that book, is about how to give an effective compliment when something sticks out to you, to tell that other person. When someone, and it's stuff that someone has chosen, it's stuff that someone has picked. So that person picked that shirt. If you have certain glasses, you chose those glasses. If you have a certain hairstyle, you picked that hairstyle. You find something that the other person has picked, and if it resonates with you, if it connects with you, then compliment it. You don't pick things that the other person didn't pick. So you don't compliment someone's eyes. You don't compliment someone's height. You don't compliment their appearance. You don't compliment those kind of things because they had zero choice in it. It's just the way they were born. It's just the way they were raised. It's the circumstances of their life. But definitely compliment people based on the intentional choices that they made. But you might have a different gift. Your gift might be creating something. Your gift might be in helping someone. Your gift might be sharing resources. We all have a gift. So look, I'll tell you something else that annoys me. And we all do it. We all do it. I do it too. And it really frustrates me. It's when people say, hey, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. I really hate that. I really hate that. Because what it does is it puts all the pressure on asking for help on the person that probably needs the help. And what happens? Most of the time, 99% of the time, you tell someone, hey, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. 99% of the time, no one asks for help. Why? Well, because it's really awkward to ask for help when you don't know if the other person's in a position to offer that type of help. So let's say that you're really overwhelmed at work or school. You have a lot on your plate. You're going into final season or you're in a busy time of work. And your neighbor says, hey, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. And then you go, actually, there is something I can do. There is some help I need. Could you sit down with me and be my study partner and help me run through these things that I need to work on for a presentation? Laffy Bun says, I say that line all the time. We all do. We all do. We're culturally ingrained to say this. If there's anything I can do to help, let me know. Laffy Bun, how many times do people actually take you up on that? That's what I'm curious about, right? Laffy Bun says, I'm open to being wrong here. I just don't know what else I'm supposed to do. I'll tell you in just a second, Laffy Bun. But let me know, do people actually take you up on that? So let's say that your neighbor's like, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. And then you say, actually, I need help preparing for this presentation. And then your neighbor's like, ooh, actually, I'm really busy. I don't know if I can help you with that. And then you go, oh, okay. Okay. Now it's really awkward and weird. And now you feel like rejected. And you're the one who's like stressed and in need of help, right? So instead of saying, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. Instead, what I think is a much better thing to do is offer your strengths, offer your gifts, offer the things that you are happy to share. So if someone's going through a hard time, instead of saying, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. Maybe you can say, sounds like you're going through a hard time. Can I make you dinner one of these nights? I would love to make you a home cooked meal. Let me drop something off for you. Or maybe you can say, sounds like you're going through a hard time. Can I buy you some groceries or some snacks? Can I drop off a care package full of treats for you? Or maybe you can say, sounds like you're going through a hard time. Let me come over and do some of the chores for you. Let me come over and do some of this stuff for you. Like, what is the thing that you're really good at doing, that you like doing, and then offer that. So for me, what I'm really good at doing is I'm a good talker. I'm a good listener, right? So what I might say is, sounds like you're going through a lot. Can we do some like downtime hangout? Can we play some video games together, or do you want to go for a walk, or you want to talk about what's going on? Maybe I can help you kind of figure out some ways to move forward. Now, I know a lot of times that doesn't work for people because they might be overwhelmed. They don't have time. And if you're in that kind of situation where the one gift you would offer is also something that's going to take up a lot of time, just send the person some money. Send them $5. Send them $10. Send them a $20 gift card to a meal. If you're like financially able to do this, no one is going to say no to a free meal. That's better than nothing. And most of the time when you say, is there anything I can do to help? Let me know. That is the equivalent of doing nothing, because no one's going to take you up on that. So do something. Offer the person something you're very good at doing, especially if you don't have money to be able to send them a gift certificate. Offer your time doing the thing you're very good at doing. And if you can't do that, and if you have money, just send them a gift card for some money, for some food, for something. No one's going to turn that down. Everyone has to eat, and that'll help. So Laffy Bun says, but isn't it their responsibility to ask for help? Yeah, it is. But no one does that, because we're not, especially in the United States, we're not a culture that really encourages people to ask for help. It's a very hard thing to ask someone else for help. It's very hard. It's very awkward. And we're not really we don't live in those smaller communities where it's very easy to ask for help. We live in much more of a fractured community now, where it's very difficult to ask for help. Dalton, good to see you. I'm glad you caught us live, right? Now, Laffy Bun, you say very few people actually take you up on asking for help. But when they do take me up on that, I do my damnedest to try to the point where I don't preserve myself and my boundaries. But they get help most of the time. Probably a fawn response. Okay, so this is the other side of the problem, is if you say, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. And if someone takes you up on it and they're asking for help on the thing that you don't, it's like overwhelming for you, now we've got this whole other problem, right? And now you feel bad. We're like very bad at this. We're very bad at offering help, taking help, and then moving forward from getting help. And Laffy Bun says, how do I know what my gifts are, and if I don't even know who I am, though? So what is the stuff that you like doing? Maybe you like crafts. Maybe you like art. Maybe you like writing nice notes. Maybe you like baking cookies. Maybe you like mowing the lawn. Maybe you like drawing pictures. Maybe you like doing research and putting together a Pinterest board. There's something that you like doing. When you find yourself losing time doing stuff that you didn't want to do, what is that stuff? Or what is the stuff you end up doing when you're supposed to be doing something else and you get lost doing this stuff? right? Like those are all clues to the things that you might be very good at doing or the things that you will do for fun. Those are probably the kind of things that you should offer someone else. Like I love vacuuming. I love doing it. It makes me feel so good. It makes me feel I've accomplished something. I can do it all day. I can vacuum all day. I'd be very happy to come over to someone's house, come over to a good friend's mine's house, vacuum their place, fold their laundry while I listen to podcasts. That kind of stuff, I'm happy to do it. There's going to be something that comes easily to you. You can do a lot, and other people would really benefit from. So experiment with that and offer those kinds of things instead of giving this blanket, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. Laffy Bun says, I'm really good at being a friend, but most people think cognitive reframing is for the mentally ill, and they just avoid, and never actually let me help them. Yeah, so offer it. So if there's something you're good at, offer it. Doesn't mean the other person is going to take you up on it. And if you find that they consistently aren't taking you up on it, maybe just send them a $5 gift certificate so they can go get a burrito or go get a burger or something like that. That'll always make people happy. Right? It's quite difficult to get people gifts. And the gift of time and the gift of help through time is a great one. But if people aren't accepting that, giving them something that they need is the next best thing. And everyone needs food. I think that's always gonna be helpful. Aniket says, but when I try to help someone by offering my strength, and if they decline, it feels like rejection too in some way and becomes embarrassing sometimes. It does. It can. Way better that you tried. Way better that you tried than you didn't. We completely overestimate how much of a burden it will be to ask for help. And we underestimate how helpful it is to offer specific help. So most of us think we will be a burden if we ask someone else for help. And most of us think that if we try to help someone, it's not going to be that helpful. And what the research actually shows is getting some type of perceived support, just knowing that there's someone out there that is willing to try to do something for you, that is helpful in itself. So, Aniket, I would much rather you try and it be awkward or embarrassing than not try. I remember this very well. When my brother suddenly died by suicide many years ago, I sent an email to the closest people in my life. I remember exactly who responded to that email and who didn't. I remember very well. I remember the people, and no one knew what to say, right? Like, I know this is, wow, you took it really heavy. In this really one of the worst times in my life, when I asked for help, or I just kind of put this out there, and I let my friends know, like, hey, I want you to know this terrible thing happened to me. I'm not gonna be local for a while. I'm gonna go spend time with family. The reason I was doing that is, one, I wanted people to know why I'm not gonna be around, and two, I wanted help. I didn't want to be alone. The people who responded almost uniformly said, I don't know what to say, and I'm really sorry, and I care about you, and I'm here for you. That's what they said. Not specific. It was not, it wasn't giving me any answer, right? But what it was doing was giving me some support. It is better to say something than to say nothing. It is better to offer something than to offer nothing. Even if it's awkward, even if it's weird, That's fine. Awkwardness is the price of being human. Human interaction is awkward. We're not algorithms. We're not AI. We don't say everything perfectly. That's fine. Be awkward. Be weird. Just be authentic and say something. I remember who responded. I'll never forget the people who responded. And I care very deeply for those people. And I'm so thankful that those people showed up for me when I was going through a tough time. So be someone who shows up. Be someone who's willing to send that awkward message. Be someone who's willing to say, I don't know what to say, but what I want to, I don't know the right thing to say here, but what I do want to say is I care about you and I want to help you. And then maybe you can say, here's a few things I can do really well. Happy to do these things. If that doesn't work, I'm happy to just come over. If that doesn't work, can I buy you a burger? Burgers make things better. Let's see. Heather says, it's also hard when you're in a stressful situation to figure out what you need. It takes mental load off if the person... Yeah, so this is a great point, Heather. If you are the one in stress, you're not very much thinking clearly. You are overwhelmed. Your thoughts are super restricted to the problem at hand. And you aren't really able to think about what are the best ways I can ask for advice? What are the best things I should say? That stuff doesn't come up for you, right? That's not the stuff you're thinking about. So it takes a lot of pressure off if the other person offers something specific. And hey, if people... I keep bringing up the example of like food and cookies, but I think food and cookies go a long way to helping someone feel supported and helping someone to feel better. Just if you're good at baking treats, just bake the treats, drop them off at the person's door, send them a text message. Hey, made you some treats. They're at your front door. I care about you. And then walk away. That's it. That's going to be such a sweet, kind gesture of support. It makes someone feel loved and supported. It's very, very helpful. Vess says, I love that advice of yours. I made some scones for friends right after their newborn arrived. This has now turned into a tradition. Love it, Vess. Last night they invited me for dinner and I made carrot cake. Oh, Vess, carrot cake is my favorite type of cake. I love carrot cake. Oh my God. You know why I love carrot cake? When I was a little kid growing up, there was this bakery really close by my house called Morse's Bakery. And my mom, on the weekends, would get me their carrot cake. And as a kid, I thought carrot cake was super healthy. Like on the cream cheese at this bakery, they would draw a little carrot on it. And for some reason, that made me think like, oh, there's actually like a carrot here. And I know like carrot cake can have different degrees of carrots in it. But I love that cake. And it, to me, it's connected with like my mom and my mom taking care of me and making me feel loved and nourished, and it just tasted so good, and it's tied to nothing but like happy memories for me. So if someone brings me carrot cake, I am over the moon. Over the moon. What a sweet thing you did. And that's kind of what we're talking about, is like not all of us can bake a carrot cake, but there's something we can do. There's something we can do better than most people, and find that thing and offer that thing, or just bring over that thing. I love that, Vess. I love that. That's a great one. All right. Okay. Julie says, I'm so sorry about your brother. My family has suffered the same thing. There's so many of us. I think we're kind of the silent majority, actually, whose lives have been affected by suicide-related loss. So many people are left behind from a suicide and are affected by it. And we tend not to talk about these types of losses, but these types of losses are a part of life. And it's something that I hope we can have more conversations around. And Julie says, we never forget who responds and who shows up. Absolutely. Absolutely. Be someone who shows up. Be someone who tries. Better to try and fail and stumble and be awkward than someone who just disappears into the void. Don't be one of those people. Show up. Show up for each other. It is the most important thing we can do. Laffy Bun says, this reminds me of the idea of dharma, like giving a terminally ill person food despite the hopelessness of the situation. I think we owe it to each other to show up for each other as much as we can until we can't. I think that's the answer. Whoa, my mic just flipped. I think that's the answer to 2025 and all the terrible stuff that's happening out there, and AI and everything, is let's just show up for each other as much as we can in the most humane way possible, using our own strengths, and try and just be there. And that's why, again, my guiding philosophy has become, how can I be the best part of someone else's day? Wow, that was a long one for focus on what you can control. Was that what we were talking about? Wow. Hobbies. So again, we're talking about can't escape the news. What a deep dive. I can't believe it. We've gotten through one question in 2.5 hours. This is such my style. I think I'm going to get through so many questions. It's going to be a lightning round. And then no, we get through one. Hobbies is a great one. So find something that you can work on, that you can do, that you can consistently improve on and start to get better at over time. This is what I think a lot of us need. And Matt D'Avella made a video. Did he make a video, or was it? Gosh, someone made a video about how the internet has ruined hobbies, and it's turned this idea of let me see if I can find out and give credit to the original YouTube channel here. But this idea that, like, we all have all these hobbies, and it used to be you just do the hobbies for fun, and now what's happened is hobbies have turned into like hustle, and hobbies have turned into things you can optimize and buy and do. There we go. So it's Levi Hildebrand made this video called "How the Internet Ruined Hobbies," which I watched the other day and I totally agree with. And so there's all these ways in which, let's say you're into gaming, let's say you're into photography like me. My favorite hobby right over here is taking photos of everyday life, of taking photos of everyday moments, and then the way the internet has ruined this is trying to share these pictures. There's no easy way to just share pictures with my friends. What I found is, like, the best way to share pictures with my friends is over text, which kind of sucks that that's all I've got. But finding a hobby that you can work on for yourself, not for the algorithm, not for the grind, not for the hustle, but just for yourself. Finding a hobby that you're into, working on it, and finding a way to keep working on it and keep leveling up and trying it out. That is super helpful. It's so helpful to have something that you can spend a lot of time improving, and it's not for any other gain except for your own enjoyment. So whatever your budget, whatever your interest, there's a hobby out there for you that you can probably find that can help you to feel like you're moving forward on stuff. I think that's super helpful, and I think that's fantastic. All right, where am I? Audit your inputs. I think we've talked a lot about that. We don't need to talk about that. Recentering quotes. So this is super helpful. So finding ideas or quotes that are really meaningful to you and putting them in all different spots in your life. So this could be like finding a meaningful quote and putting it right on your phone, finding a meaningful quote and putting it in your wallet, putting it right in front of your computer, putting it in some kind of space that helps you to focus on what you really care about, that helps you to focus on what's meaningful to you, that helps you to focus on what really matters. That I think is incredibly helpful to a lot of people. I don't really do the um, I don't really do quotes as much, but one of the things that I do that is helpful to me is I try to remind myself of my values, of things that are really critical for me, and I have them here in my to do app. Um, I have my values listed that I'll read them out. I'll share them to you. But when I'm going through like what I should focus on and what I should do, it's super helpful for me to focus on my values first and make sure the actions I'm taking are consistent with my values. So, for example, if you're actually, I should back up. If you're not even sure what your values are, you can uncover them in a few different ways. There's a values clarification exercise that you can do where you can print out all these different values and then you can sort them by what's important, what's less important, and you keep going through that process until you get down to like 5 different values. Another way you can do it is you can imagine your 100th birthday and all your closest friends and family are there. And what are the stories that they're sharing about you? And and imagine that you've lived this meaningful life that you've always wanted to live. And what are the people who love you most saying about you, about this life that you've lived? And those stories usually are clues to what your values are. So my values have changed over time, as yours probably have. But right now, my number one value is my family. So my 2 kids, my wife. How do I do what's right by them? Number 2 value is my health. Um, my mom's health has declined a bit over time. I also um, just a little over a year ago, I lost a cousin who was not that much older to me to cancer, and and I had a few small health scares in recent years, and that has made me really prioritize my health. And thankfully, I'm in a great place. I feel very healthy. My doctor's very happy. My labs are good, but it's a very big, important priority to me. Making sure my sleep, my my activity, um, I'm putting in good stuff into my body. All that stuff is really important to me. So my family, my health, my friendship. I really try to see and stay in touch with my close friends on a regular basis because the older I get, the harder that is, and the fewer of them there are. So it's really important for me to try to stay in touch with my friends. Something else that I'm really working on is dependability. It's a big value for me. I want to be reliable. I've historically not been very reliable over email. I've historically not shown up on my YouTube channel for you all on a regular basis. I'm trying to be more reliable. I'm trying to be more dependable in all those ways. If you text me, I try to respond. If you email me, I try to respond quickly. I try to regularly show up on the YouTube channel. And then creativity is really important. This kind of style of content is not something I would have ever thought to do. But I'm constantly trying to push myself to creatively, authentically show up for you all. That's a big goal of mine, is to try new things like the mental health improv games, the cozy brain hour, all this stuff. I'm trying to try new things and keep myself learning and creatively growing. I think that's really important. And then service. So service is really important to me. I know so much stuff from my education, from my experience working with people, from all the stuff that I do. And I feel like it's really imperative that I find a way to be of service to everyone else and to share it with other people. So family, health, friendship, dependability, creativity, and service. These are the things that are my core values and what I try to focus on. All right, and Mr. A says, and we greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Let me see. Laffy Bun says, stuff like this is why I could never end myself and why I eventually ended up here. Sorry to go dark there and here, but yeah, if I could flip a switch and not exist without harm to myself or others, I probably would flip the switch. That's impossible, though, so I'll focus on psychology. Resent message. I don't know if it's sent. If this was your message, Laffy Bun, it totally came through. You know, I have done one of my professors in grad school, Dr. David Jobs. He and I did a big interview a long time ago on suicide prevention and what is suicide? Why do people become suicidal? And what are the best ways we can help people who are suicidal? And I really need to get this episode up on the channel. The problem is there's an audio problem with the content. So it's such a good interview. It's such a good discussion. And like basically I have to go through and every second I need to edit it and fix this audio problem. But I want to get that content here for all of you because I think it would be really helpful. People who struggle with thoughts about harming themselves or about ending their lives, it's usually not a sudden thing. Sometimes they can be very quick crises that escalate all of that. But usually people who have been struggling with this stuff, been struggling with it for a while. And one of the most important things that we can do is make it easier to talk about it. A lot of times people worry that if we ask about whether or not someone is suicidal, that it might put the idea in their head. And that is absolutely not true. There's so much research that shows asking if someone is suicidal, asking if they're having thoughts about ending their life, it doesn't put that idea in their head. It doesn't make things worse for them. It actually makes them feel heard and seen. And it opens up the opportunity to talk about something that they're probably very much struggling with. So if you are someone that's worried that someone in your life might be suicidal, talk to them, ask them, are you suicidal? Are you going through this stuff? Talk to them about it. Your job isn't to be a therapist. Your job is not to be a coach or to fix their problems. But your job is to be someone who cares, someone who wants to hear, someone who wants to learn, someone who wants to show up for another person. That is your job. That is your purpose. So be that person that shows up. Be that person that asks. And if someone is suicidal, listen to them. Try to understand what's going on for them. And then try to connect them with support. Maybe you call a suicide hotline together and you talk through it. Maybe you help that person get in touch with a therapist. Maybe you help that person get in touch with like a school counselor or school counseling center. Help them get connected to help. It's not your responsibility to fix the problem, of course not. But it is your responsibility to care and to help that person get help. I hope that is helpful for that. And again, I'm going to try to get that video up sooner rather than later. Laffy Bun says, I just got a keyboard in from last night during the hobbies topic. I'm a mechanical computer keyboard hobbyist. That's super cool. I think that's a great hobby because that's also one that can expand and you can spend so much time in it. You can watch a lot of cool videos about it. You can learn so much about it. It's one of those things that you can be into for such a long time. And those kind of hobbies are super helpful. The last one we got here is worry time. So someone in the audience brought up this idea of worry time, and I think this is a great one. So worry time comes from one of the treatments we have for generalized anxiety disorder. When people are struggling with worries. They have a hard time controlling their worries. It leads to a lot of loss of time. It leads to a lot of tension. It might lead to physical pain. It might make it difficult for you to focus, for you to get sleep, all this sort of stuff. And the way we do worry time is when you get a worry, you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to deal with this during worry time. And then you pick one time in the day for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever amount of time you want to give it. Don't give it like 1-2 hours. Make it manageable. 5 to 20 minutes, sure, go for it. 30 minutes, go for it. And then during worry time, you take like a notebook, you take a pen, and then you write down all the things you're worried about. You put your date, you set a timer, and then you just write down all the worries you have. Just pour them all out there onto your notebook. Get them out of your head, get the worries into a notebook. And then if you get worries, the timer goes off, stop writing down, and then move forward. And if you get worries outside of worry time, just tell yourself, I've got worry time. I can go back to it during worry time. And then in your next worry time, take a look at what you wrote down the day before. Over time, what you'll realize is you might be worried about the same things over and over again. And if you keep worrying about the same things, maybe they're not that meaningful. Maybe they're worries that are always going to be there in the back of your head. So maybe they're not really a signal that something important is going on. Maybe it's more noise that's just always in the background. You cannot control the thoughts that pop into your head. You cannot control the thoughts that pop up into your head. They just will appear. And some thoughts are going to be recycled over and over again. Some thoughts are not. The struggle is to figure out what's important, what's not important. This is where we have to let our values guide us, and we have to learn how to filter out the signal from the noise. And if you're someone that struggles with anxiety, if you're someone who's stressed a lot, most of the thoughts that are floating around in here are probably noise. So worry time is one way in which you can take all that noise in your head and feel a little bit more in control, a little bit more focused. And then over time, you can shrink the amount of worry time that you do. And hopefully this can be something that helps you to move forward. This is a little bit trickier if you're someone experiencing OCD, and it can, for people who have OCD, it can become a ritual. And if you're in that situation, this might not be the approach you want to take. But if we're talking about general day-to-day worries, especially worries related to the news, this might be something that can be really helpful. Lifey Bun says, I worry that would not be helpful, but I could try it, I suppose. Definitely try it and see. So much of the stuff in mental health that we think is going to be helpful surprises us, because some of the things we think might be helpful are not helpful. Some of the things that we think are not going to help us do help us. You have to experiment and you have to try. You have to approach this stuff as like a laboratory, that you're willing to experiment and you're willing to see what's going to happen. Folks, I think we got through the entire list. We got through the whole support stack of I can't escape the news and all the different things that we can do to help. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a picture of this. I probably need to make it like a square. All right. I'm going to post that on our community page so we have that so people can kind of work through it. And the next live stream, we'll go through some more stuff.